The negotiations of the latest coronavirus stimulus bill have fallen apart. Now, Speaker Nancy Pelosi told reporters following a 3-hour negotiation meeting that White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows got angry, slammed the table, and walked out. Following that, of course, you had reporters talking about how the White House also rejected a plan put forward by Pelosi in order to bring the cost of the stimulus down a little bit if the Republicans were willing to add $1 trillion onto their bill. And so let's go into the details here. So now first, Capitol Hill correspondents tweeted about this. Leanne Caldwell says, not enough money for food, not enough money for rent, not enough money for the American people who are out of work. When they said it was a skinny proposal, that what they meant was it's anorexic. Pelosi is quoted as saying, we're very far apart. It's very unfortunate. Caldwell also says, Pelosi said Meadows slammed the table, walked out. In response, she said, you're slamming the table on our children. That's strong. Now, Schumer, the president, here's what Chuck Schumer said, reportedly. The president has two choices, negotiate with Democrats or try executive orders. What Schumer says will leave people out and be tried in the courts. Not only that, but one of the executive orders that Donald Trump is considering is a payroll tax cut, which, of course, is going to hurt Social Security. So that's going to be effectively something that damages Social Security down the line. Not good. Not good. Schumer also adds, we plead with them, continue to negotiate, and as we see, didn't quite work out. Jake Sherman said to review, negotiations are stalled, trillions of dollars apart, no progress. Igor Bobik says, usually at this point, with no deal, you'd expect McConnell to put something on the floor for a vote to get Democrats on record, but we've not even gotten to that point. The GOP itself is too divided, even for messaging bills, and as so far, Mitch McConnell hasn't really done anything else other than say, well, I'll leave the door open to the unemployment benefits, but yeah, still we're gonna try to cut them, essentially. Lindsey McPherson says negotiations between Democrats and the White House are going so poorly that they haven't even agreed to meet tomorrow yet. Mnuchin says they'll talk by phone in the morning to see if it makes sense to meet. And so, yeah, those are all reporters that work on Capitol Hill, and you can tell that it seems to be going pretty well. I mean, so let's get into why they're having such a disagreement, right? Into the details of the bill, right? So now Republicans don't want to spend that much money helping people. I mean, that's pretty simple. Pelosi and Schumer want to spend about $3 trillion on this bailout. Republicans want to spend about $1 trillion. There's still both of the bills that were put forward, by the way. You've got the HEROES Act and the HEALS Act. Both of them still give a $1,200 stimulus to everybody who got one last time, right? Democrats, though, do want to increase the amount given to dependents to $1,200 from $500, but cap it at 3 dependents, whereas Republicans want to stay with the $500. Okay. Now, the difference here, big difference between them is unemployment, right? Democrats want to continue the additional $600 federal benefit through January 21st for most workers, and March 2021 for gig workers, contractors, part-time workers, self-employed, etc. Okay. The Republican plan originally was to cut it to $200 a week through September and then give up to 70% of matching lost wages, and it would extend the expiration of federal benefits until December 31st. Now, Republicans did offer $400 at first, and then switching it to 70%. Democrats rejected that on the Paycheck Protection Program. Democrats want increased eligibility, to drop the payroll requirement, to extend the application period. Republicans also want to do something similar. They want businesses to be able to request a second loan. I think that's something that they're actually agreeing on, to eliminate the 75% payroll requirement and expand approved uses of funds for loan forgiveness. So the things that Democrats and Republicans tend to agree on are more business friendly measures. But of course, it is. Now, Republicans are also pushing to get people back to work. And what they're doing is they're offering an unemployment bonus, right? So it's like a $450 per week bonus for anybody who goes back to work. Republicans do not address evictions or rent. Democrats say let's have rent protections at least for another year. Both do send money for schools, although Democrats send less to K through 12, but also send a significantly more amount than Republicans to higher education. Republicans are asking for corporate liability. That's Mitch McConnell's first priority, and also the Chamber of Commerce, as I've explained. And Republicans have called for more COVID-19 testing. And so that's basically a comparison between, both proposals that are on the table that they're arguing from. You've got the differences in unemployment, evictions, and corporate liability. And of course, as you've seen, these are non-starters for both groups. And so Democrats don't want to cut unemployment for the most part. They're pretty strong on that. Republicans want corporate liability. And Democrats have said actually no on that. And of course, the differences in unemployment. So they're stuck. They are stuck at a time where millions of people have already now missed rent for this month. Rent's already due. So if you weren't able to pay the rent because the last payment was at the end of July for expanded unemployment, well, then you're screwed, basically. And a lot of places have had their eviction moratoriums that were had been lifted. And so now you've got a run on landlords evicting tenants who cannot afford to pay the rent. And that's what you have. Now, you've got the job, which is interesting because it contrasts with the jobs report, right, that had just come out. So now the jobs report says, yay, we added 1.8 million jobs. Now, experts are saying that's not nearly enough. Doesn't even come close to what we've lost. But generally, when you're talking about the jobs report, you kind of missed the point, right, of the fact that we still have COVID-19. Coronavirus is still spiking in many places, many states. And so what you have here is a situation where you shouldn't be applauding that many people going back to work at this moment in time. Yes, we obviously want people to go back to work only when we've controlled the virus. And so there's that. I mean, you've got workplaces, you've got schools right now in states you have seen where COVID-19, coronavirus is spiking. And so that's a serious issue. And they're not addressing this, especially because they're not doing anything right now. So now on that, the American people obviously are not, they really can't afford to wait for Congress to get their shit together. Okay. And that's the problem. And right now, and not a lot of people talk about this, I'm really worried that we're about to see homelessness levels rise to a scale, the homelessness crisis, the housing crisis, rise to a scale that we've never seen before. And that is just, it's absolutely, on the one hand, unfathomable. And yet, it's in the works. We're going to see it. Republicans drag their feet, while Democrats, look, to be fair, they passed the HEROES Act back in May. They addressed this months ago with at least a moratorium. Now, you guys know my opinion on this. I think the Democrats should go harder on this, obviously. I think we need the Ryan Khanna plan, right? Tim Ryan, Ro Khanna got together, $2,000 a month UBI until this crisis is over, until employment returns to pre-COVID levels after we have handled the coronavirus. And then also freezing rent and mortgages. We have to have a rent and mortgage freeze. We have to. We also need to have a vaccine that is free for everyone. There's a report out there recently where one of the companies and I forget the name of the company, so I apologize for that, is planning on charging $2,000 to $3,000 for a vaccine. That is unacceptable. Unacceptable, because there's going to be millions of people who will not be able to afford that vaccine. And it kind of destroys the whole point of, and the thing that's most enraging about that report, by the way, is that it only takes $1 to manufacture the actual vaccine. $1, $1. They want to charge $3,000 for it. Capitalism, right there for you. And so, that said, if you're looking for a specific person to blame, you can blame Mark Meadows for one. You can blame the Republicans. You can blame Mitch McConnell. You can blame Donald Trump, Steve Mnuchin, and you can blame basically the Republican Party